So a lot of stock cars, what they have is they have the breather right here on the side of the head valve cover here, and then it goes to the intake, and then goes from the intake manifold to the throttle body, which is back there, and they have a big long tube and it connects everything. But a lot of cars with bigger throttle bodies, they run a breather crank valve to get some of the pressure out of the valve cover here. So at W1, if you haven't seen their website, go ahead and check it out. I'll put it in the description below. They have a bunch of oil catch cans, they have gauge pods, they have breather valves, intake covers, they have a bunch of stuff. So and they have universal parts. They have universal parts along with specific parts for cars. So they were nice enough to send me some parts here, and the first one is this breather valve, so it goes here, and then they sent a clamp. I'm gonna use this. This is usually for like a heat shield for the breather valve, but on the MR2s they have the open deck lid here, so I'm just gonna put it on top to guard it from water, because you don't want water getting into the filter there. Then we're gonna clamp it on like that, and that's how it's gonna sit. So I'm gonna go ahead and situate this. It's pretty easy install, and there's a little clamp, and you tighten down the bolts. So let's do it now. Okay guys, now that's kind of clamped in one piece like this, I can go ahead and install it now. Looks awesome. So it's a simple little mod here, and so it's gonna also, I have one for my air intake. It's a big 4-inch one, going from the throttle body all the way over there. I have a little guard for heat. I'm gonna have that installed later, but what I'm gonna install now is see if I can do an oil catch can here.
Day 2.
Alright guys, so I'm gonna use this at W1 magnetic drain plug. So it actually looks like this, blue, and it is magnetic. Boom, like that. I'm not using that normal drain plug, I'm using this nice at W1. And even comes with, I believe it's a crush washer here. It's really nice, just a little crush washer right there. I'm gonna go ahead and install this one on there. Alright guys, now so far on to the other things from Ad W1. Like I said, this is their oil catch can here. They have a bunch of different versions. They have one specifically for cars. They have one for universal fitting. This is their carbon one with the red ring here. This one is awesome. Looks super nice, and I think it'll go with the theme of my car. Little carbon up here, and they have a little drain plug. If you ever do want to use it with some Teflon tape already on there. It's super high quality. Even has a little dipstick, but they have a little O-ring, if you can see that on there, and it makes it so it doesn't leak or anything out of there. So it's definitely new for, I had the V1 on my EP3, and since then they made even more changes. Let me go ahead and show you guys the baffling on this, because on the last video you guys wanted to see that. Go ahead and open this up right now, and look at that baffling right there. So baffles it. It's really heavy. It's all metal construction, and they have the inner part here. Of course, not gonna leak. Really nice threads and everything. So and this kit does come with fittings and brackets and everything, and so I'll show you guys that right now. These are some of the fittings that they gave me. You do have to put some Teflon tape in it, and they go on the inlet outlet section on here. And so I'm gonna, and obviously it looks like it's blocked off, but there's actually, it goes down in there. So I'm gonna put on some fittings right now and see the correct sizing. Alright, so this is obviously gonna be different for different cars. Guys, so I got the supply bracket here, the bolts and nuts they gave. So this is super nice. What I was planning to do is I'm gonna mount it here, and then have the oil catch can sit. So I'm going to remove this nut, that way I can put this on here and have it mounted. So we get the oil catch can here, and then we'll mount it like so. So that's how it'll sit, and I'll have my lines going out through here. So alright guys, so you do want to be careful of these screws here, obviously, but and even the bracket is countersunk, so super nice touch. W1 is really quality. I feel like they've really upped their game since I started getting their products here, and I get impressed. They're a smaller company, but every time I get one of their products, I just don't understand how they have such nice quality stuff. I mean, there's bigger companies out there that just don't provide the same quality. So I definitely highly recommend you guys checking out some of their parts to see what they have for your vehicles. And you know, supporting small businesses, especially at a time like this, I think, in my opinion, is very, very important. So that's what I'm doing right now. Just trying to support companies as much as possible. So there you go. It's mounted. This is the bracket I was talking about with the supply bolts. So they have Allen with the nut, perfect clearance, and then they have the Allens up here. You gotta make sure to really tighten those down. Really, I am just happy to have their product here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the fittings on. So where this does go and where I put on my EP3 was one hose goes in the PCV, which is actually blocked off on my car. PCV hose all the way up to here, and then it goes through the baffle, comes out, and it goes back into the intake manifold. It goes into the block. So that's what I'm gonna do. What an oil catch can does is there's a lot of blow by, especially on turbo cars, which there you got my turbo sitting up there. But when I do, and even NA cars, there's a little bit of blow by. A little bit of oil gets past the rings and it gets into the head and sometimes into the intake manifold, and you don't want that gunk building up. So what this eliminates is it collects some of that blow by, so that oil doesn't sit around and burn, and it gets collected into this catch can. And turbo cars usually have that a lot, but yeah, I found on my EP3 and the FRS both have it, and they have collected a lot. And the FRS is pretty new, so obviously something good for your motor here, performance upgrade. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Nice, great rubber hoses. They give you lots so you can cut it. They have two sizes, the bigger one, the smaller one here. So let's see. If I put this up close like that, you guys can see the size difference there. Along with, they give you these really, really nice fittings. And these fittings here are metal, and like I say, you put Teflon coating on them. So the PCV on mine is going to be the smaller hose, and the engine block one is going to be the bigger one. Alright, so I did get it onto that part that I showed you before. Cut the hose with a saw here, and then alright, so I did get the hose mounted like I showed you before. Did cut the hose. It's going to go right here into the inlet, and then on the outlet I'm going to have it go back to the area. So as I say, how it's going to travel up. It worked on my EP3 because it's a lot of pressure there. So it will work, and I'm going to go ahead and mount this. So basically I got the fitting, the black fitting for the smaller fitting, wrapped in Teflon tape, and threaded in, tightened it down, and now this thing is good to go. I need to put a clamp on this though, and then also it was bothering me that it wasn't flat, so I did bend the bracket a little bit so it's flat now. Alright guys, and it's all completed. Super simple. These lines are much shorter than my EP3 was, so I think it's going to be even better and more efficient. So yeah, let me go ahead and do final cinematic.